أهلا بكم
Hello,
في
everybody, and
حلقة
welcome
قريب
to
ريفرندوم
Qarib,
بلدي
Media
جزائري
Support for
حكومي
Social
لحدث
Cohesion and
القدس
Dialogue, and we are going
الإسرائيلي
to discuss
وشاركت
the
بالنسبة
reflections of the
للقوس السابق
powers
كما وصف الرئيس
on the
الجزائري
elections
الباسل سؤالي
whom
سيصل
achieved a
عن
landslide when, as
الاحتلال
described
سأطرح
by
هل تشكل
the Secretary
مخاطر
General of the
ستكون
Hezbollah
للانتخابات
Party, Amin
النيابية
Qasim, and
غدا
we
وهل
are
عكست الانتخابات
and
الناس تعيد
these
إنتاج نفس
elections
الصراع
are
السياسي
producing
لاحتل
the
الاحتلال على مدى
same
أكثر
the
من
political
60
strata
عاما
that is
من دون
ruling
نهوض
Lebanon for over
بإمكانية
30 years without any
بمعنى
change
استثنائية التغيير
in the
طبعا
parties,
ما
those
حصدناه
who
البرنامج
did
الجديد هو
not
برنامج
win.
يدعم
And
أكثر من
the
80 منصة
Qarib
مستقلة
program
للإنتاج
is
العراق
a
تابع
program that
للمنصة
supporting more than
الاستراتيجية
45 platform
الفلسطينية
Lebanon, Palestine,
ممولة
Jordan,
من
Iraq,
قبل مثل ما قلتم
funded by the
معنا
AFD and also supported
أصدقاء
by the
بادية
CFI. And we
لقوائم
have with us Badia Fahes, Lebanese
لرئيس
journalist,
مؤسس
writes
لمؤسسة
in Badia Fahes,
سيوس للشؤون
and
القانونية
and
واجعلي نائب
and
رئيس
also
الاتحاد في
Leal
قاضي
Saqar,
الشرق
seats for
الأوسط
legal
وذات
initiatives.
الاسم أسس
Muhannad Al Haj Ali,
مؤتمر
Deputy
ومناطق
Director of Research
مناطق
at Carnegie
الحرب
Middle East
في
Center,
العراق
and Zuhair Debes, and
وتابع
founder
الاستراتيجية
of
واستولى
Manatak platform and covering the target area in the last war
الانتخابات
between
البلدية
Hezbollah and Israel,
في
and
العراق
also covering
لكن
the municipal
موضوعنا هنا
elections in these
بالنسبة
areas.
لي
So
ليس
the
الانتخابات البلدية
our
لكنه أول
theme is about
استعراض
municipal
للانتخاب
elections.
السويسري
Why?
الانتخاب السويسري
Because
بعد
they
التغييرات
have
الهائلة اللي
political
شهدها
dimensions
لبنان
after the colossal
والمنطقة
effects
لإلغاء
and changes
تغيير
witnessed
مقرر
by
انتخابات
Lebanon,
رئيس الجمهورية
and
في
after
2016
three
وأجد وقت
municipal
كل
elections
الأنظار
after
تجاه الحزب
2016,
وما
all
سيفعله
are
الضغط
looking at
الخارجي
Hezbollah and what it will
لتسوية
do
سلاح
with the
والدول
massive
الإسلامية
pressures, international pressures to
تحقق فوز كل الأحزاب
disarm and
المتحالفة
deliver their
وذلك أيضا يجعل
arms.
الحرب
And we are
الحادثة
going to discuss
فعلا
do
فوز
these
الفريقين
results
في
reflect the
العاصفة
win of
الجديدة
Hezbollah, or we should take
الاحتفال
several
بس
elements
إشارتي
into consideration,
لأهمية هذه الانتخابات
and
وما
about the
حققه حزب
importance
الله
of these elections and
للطرف
what was
الشيوعي
achieved by Hezbollah,
ودفع
that the
الثمن
Shiite
الأكبر
sect
لاستنزاف
that
إسرائيل
paid the
مناطق
heaviest
كانت للمدفوعية
toll of the
والدفاع
latest
الإصلاح
war,
الجمهوري نتيجة نجاح حزب
eight
الله في
destruction of
إنقاذ
eight
مسيرته حزب يتم
villages
الانتصارات عليه في الجنوب وفقد
in the south,
النفوذ
and
عليه
also destruction
مجمع
of its
الانتخابات
weapons,
أمام
and
كارثة
tens of
كبيرة
thousands of
وضائق
houses were destroyed,
وارتفع
and some
الرهبة
uh,
وهنا
times
أصبحت
we
القراءة
can see the
للحزبين
higher
على
numbers,
ما
and this
يشكل
is the
معنا
core of
رأي
the discussion
الكل
that we'll be having with the
خليني
participants
ألفت
or the panelists.
حائزا
Thank you very much, and
لتحدثكم
I
وجهود
will give
وقت
you
البرنامج
free
كل
time now
الانتخابات
to
الجواب
say whatever you
خاصة
want in
أنه
order not
سوف
to
يكون
make it
متمرسين في
a
الحضور
question and
والحضور
answer session,
الإضافي
and you are well
عندما
versed
تمارسون
in participating in
القراءة
such
يجب
seminars. So,
متابعة إذاعة التلفزيون
how can we view the results? Badia,
نعم انتخابات
can you
موضوعية
start?
شرسة
Because you are out of Lebanon,
أعطيك الأول
and so we can give you the priority, Mrs. Badia.
بما إني خارج لبنان لمدة
Having
أكثر من
established
عام
that, so I
ما التفصيل
didn't
عن الانتخابات البلدية
put
نعم
much
تابعت كل
attention in it.
الانتخابات
Was this because the
عادة
elections
بالتسارع
were not important, or you want to
هل
separate
صوتي كده
yourself?
جيد؟
I usually do not
هل تفسير
vote
أنه صوتي ما بيعطي
because your
أنه
vote cannot make a change.
يعطي
Yes, because my vote cannot make a change, and to
ما
dig
بيعطي
a mountain with a needle, this is a thing that
لأنه
I don't believe in.
بنظري
Because in my view, there is no real
معارضة ومعارضة
political
حول الحلول
political action opposing Hezbollah in the Shiites areas. There are several individual opposition, but um, there is nothing independent. There is nothing independent as an opposition. We tried our best to create a bloc in order to bring together all the opposition, but no hand can clap alone. So when you tackle and you want to get involved in the political arena, be it national level or international level, you need to have the capability to bring people together to create a state or a case. And so I don't believe, that's why I don't believe that we can do something because be it the direction of the opponents or the opposition or the independent are not is not right. So. You are the daughter of the South, and there is actually a decrease in the voting. So 48 to 36% is one of the highest percentages in Lebanon. I will tell you we are going to talk about the low turnout percentage, and you are the best example. But many segments were off by the war, and many people turned from allegiance to being loyal or after the war, and some groups are still consider themselves targeted, and and their party is also consider itself as targeted. So it is true. This thing is true, meaning that to move from loyalty to actually faithfulness actually is true. So that's why we didn't have this high turnout voting, although it is high in Lebanon, but the high one is because of the uncontested elections. We are going to talk about the report of LADE, the Lebanese Association for Monitoring Elections, and which says that some pressure was put by Amal and Hezbollah on some of the candidates because they will be considered they are against reconstruction and against the resistance. That's why there's uncontested elections. Anyone in the South who is uttering a word that is against the context prevailing there is considered as a traitor or collaborator. If you if you are saying so, this means that people are giving up. Thank you. But let's listen to Mohanad. How do you analyze the results? If you can get into some details in order to know the meaning of such results of such elections after this harsh blow. I would like to welcome all the colleagues, Badil Eyal and Mr. Zuhair and the others. I think there are three intertwined elements when viewing today's elections that took place in the south and the Dahiya and the different Shiite areas. The south is the main block of the Shia voters, and it is the litmus test, as they say, the baseline test in order to test the popularity of the Hezbollah party. But elections, in essence, are funding, visibility in the media, capability to conduct campaigns and to attract people, and also a control or a power in inside the different sectors in the community. And there is an equal vote between Hezbollah and the other parties because Hezbollah distributed half billion dollars as assistance during the months that were before the elections. So who can compete? And also the media control. They have a TV channel, and Hezbollah has some radio channels, and also many religious outlets, and also some power within the community. There is actually the power that should not be underestimated and with Amal and also with the security agencies and also organizational capability because they are funded by Iran. And in 1997, actually, they are outracing us since 1997. And the other thing that we need to view that there is a feeling amongst the Shiite sector that they are targeted by all parties. There is a major transformation that happened in Syria. There was a massacre against the Alawi sect in Syria, also the Durzi sect to deliver and to hand out their weapons, and also there are many events that took place, and also there was a piece of news that was not heeded well, that there is news about actually transferring 1 million Shiite from Lebanon to other areas, and also ethnic cleansing, which became normalized in the world actually. So this all and adding up what is happening in the environment, we will be left with the third element, that there is no real Shiite opposition. Before that, there was a organized politics within Hezbollah to suppress any votes out of the context, and also and also physical violence, assassinations, and all of these reasons prevented the crystallization and the emergence of any opposition element, be it to Hezbollah, against Hezbollah, or against the individual personalities. And also the media that is addressed to this sector, and so in brief, there is no opposition, real opposition to the Hezbollah party. And also, Muhannad, may I ask you something? You mentioned something about the role of the authority. We are talking about the report of LADE, the Committee to Monitor Elections, and there was a report about irregularity that was conducted to pave the road to withdraw from candidacy, and also this was coincided by pressures put on the candidates to withdraw from the elections. So this contributed in a way or another in the result. Yes, if we are talking about both Shiites by parties, they are found in all the different security agencies and other governmental institutions. And also there are services when talking about funds brought from Iran and being distributed as assistance of that is equivalent to $500 million, but there is also role for Amal, they are
فهذا في
also
الواقع
presenting and offering services
اللي هي
in
بتمنع
return
هناك
of
الحق
allegiance.
لأي
So there
وسيط
is a
من
suppression of any
الشجرة الكبيرة إذا
um,
صارت تخفي شجرة
opposition
الظلة
voice and
وتمنع
like a big
الشخص
tree
من
suffocating
العناصر
the
النامية
small
وهي
tree
خاصة
and
عادة
preventing it from reaching the sun.
في احترام
It is very
يعني عم نحكي
very
عن
difficult
حريات
to
تعدد الشجرة
penetrate or make a
فعم نحكي
penetration in
باحترام
such an environment.
في
We didn't talk
كامل
about the religious
على
environment. There is a total hegemony
صحيح.
to
أنا
prevent
بصدق
any
إنه
different votes or
قبل ما
voices.
ندخل من السؤال
Most of
محمد
you from the south,
التي
Muhannad
زهير
from
من
Nabatiya,
الأنصار
Zuhair from
بديا
Ansar
من
town,
جبشيت،
and
والقضاء
Badia
نفس
from
المنطقة بالضبط.
Nibshit.
نفس القضاء كمان
And the same district of Nabatiya, same district of Nabatiya.
عشان هيك يمكن
Yes,
قراءة
that's
طريقتكم
why maybe you're
بتعطي
reading to
يعني
the
ضابط كيف
outcomes are
المسيحيين
is getting
كذلك
large
اعتبر
portion of
الشيء اللي
credibility.
سمعته أنت
Zuhair, I
قرأته
want
عن
to ask you,
فلسطين
drawing on what you have heard on the ground in the
وافترضت
south, and also
وأبرزت
you
أنه
worked
ليش
and
معارضة،
you
يعني عندي قراءة
also brought
كيفي
out
أحاول يعني
the
لهذا
and made
هذا
visible the opposition lists,
كيف لا
those who
يعرفون
are
يعني
opposing
مثلا
Hezbollah and Amal,
مسامات ولكن ما
the
نجحت.
Shiites
إذا بدك ضيف
duetto,
عليه
as we
أنه
call it,
افترضنا
and
أنه
in order not to be
بعضهم
repeating the same ideas, do you have
أكيد
something
إنه أول
new?
شيء
First
تحياتي
of all,
للأخوة
welcome everybody,
محمود
Mahmoud,
ليال
Layal,
بادية
Badia,
مهند.
Muhannad.
ايه
Yes,
يعني استفاضوا الزملاء
my
بتشريح
colleagues
الواقع وتنوير.
were detailing the
اللي
reality
بدي اقوله انا
and
انه
provided many details. But what
المسيحية
I want to
ببلدي
say that the
وانعكاساته بتكون بكل
municipal
مكان
elections
ومعركة حسم
in
المكان.
all through
في
Lebanon
منهم
is
انتهز
to
هذا
establish
الخوف
the
وهذا
scale
الشيء
of the
على
party, and
السني حزب الله
this
وأمل
also
وإحنا
could be
الشيعيين.
applied on the
ولكن في هاي
Shiites
البيئة
duetto,
هناك بعض
Hezbollah
الأصوات
and
قبل
Amal.
الانتخابات بعد رفض
But
الاستبداد.
they went into
هلا أنا
elections
صراحة
after a
لم
fight.
أتوقع ولا
And
لحظة
as for
أنه
me,
يصير في
I haven't
تغيير. هذه
expected
الاجتماعات السلمية
to
قبل
have
الانتخابات
any
خطروا
change as
ببالي
an
وقلت
outcome.
إنه البيئة
And
الشيعية
before the
مثل
elections,
ما
I
الواقع
said that
بيننا
the Shiites
انه البيئة
environment
الشيعية غير
is not
جاهزة
ready
غير ناضجة
and
بعد
is not
للتغيير.
mature for a
غير
change.
ناضجة غير جاهزة
Immature
اكيد
and
لاسباب
unprepared,
علمية
sure, for
وعلمية
the reasons uttered by Muhammad and
وهي
Badia.
عديدة
And there
الاسباب
are
العلمية.
numerous reasons.
هلا
The
الشيعة
Shiites
بلحظة
elected
بيعتبروها هن وجودية
in one
مفصلية
existential
يعني
and a
بيعتبروا
landmark
حالهم
moment,
انهم مهددين
because they think
بوجودهم
of themselves
بغيابهم.
that they are
ومن هاي
threatened,
الخلفية
they have
خاضوا
existence
الانتخابات.
threat,
ونزلوا
and
بمشهد ما بدي يختلف
they
عن
went
الأجيال
into
السابقة. هذا المشهد
elections
يلي حضرته أنا بس
that
كان
were not
بحسيه
different from any other
أكثر
elections, but
يعني نازلين
it was
بعطي مثل.
it was more
طبعا انت
tense. And
بتحس الضيعة كلها
for example,
بمركز
in our
الانتخابات
village, you
هلا.
feel that the whole
يعني
village
نزلوا
in the polling
بجملة
station. So
تيقولوا هذا
they
الشيء
wanted to vote
وينظروا بهيبة
in a
لكل من
strong
ترشح
manner,
ضدهم.
and
هلا بس كمان هون بدي
were
اذكر
looking
انه مشكلة من ترشحوا ضدهم
suspicious
هن
at anyone that
خلفيات
are running against
تدينية
them.
او
Not all
خلفيات
the candidates
منافسة
running against them
او
were
في
opposing
كتير
them
ترشحوا ضده لكن في
because
حسابات
they have
وادوات
different
تانية لا هي ضيعة
calculations and
ضيعة
different
ومن
او
البيئة اللي احنا
family
سمعنا انه في اثنين مترشحين
considerations within the
وين
villages.
الروايح الثنائي من البيئة
Yes,
نفسها.
many,
في
they
كتير
were
ضياع. حركة أمل
they
وحركة أمل
ran
أو
against
حركة يعني أكيد
their
تمثيلية
candidates
ضدهم.
because
وهذه لها
for
علاقة
other village
بالتوازنات
or rural consideration,
البيئية
and this is
ولها
related
علاقة
to the
بالتوازنات
municipal
العائلية
balance,
يعني
the
بتتصل
families
بالقصص
balance
العائلية.
that are related to the families
أه
and to the tribes.
بكير بعد
So it is
قبل
early.
انه يعني
It is
البيئة
so early
الشيعية
to
صارت او
say
صايرة
that
هي
the Shiites
اللي بدي اقول
environment
ابعد
is
ابدا
capable
من
to make any change. I don't want to underestimate the other candidate lists, those who ran against the Shiites duetto from different political
طيب وهي
backgrounds.
شو هي
So,
الصورة يعني
what is
السوداء
the picture
المحلية في
behind you?
الفيديو؟
I feel that there is a
خلينا
lady
نوضح.
looking at
انت
me. So,
بتحرقها
so
اصلا.
are
هلا
you
هذا مثل
putting
على
it
اللسان انه هذه
deliberately?
اللوحه هي
This is an
بتخلي
example.
آية دبس
Uh,
هي تمثل
يعني
this
ضمن
is a
مجموعة
painting drawn by
العنصرية
Aya Dibes,
قبل
my
الأنصار في مواجهة
niece,
الثنائي باللحظة
and
الأخيرة
who
لم
ran
ينسحب.
to office against
صدر
the
المجلة في نص
Shiites
ساعة
duetto, and
وترشح
they
خمس أشخاص مثل ما قلت. كل منهم
they
واحدة
actually
منهم هي
ran for
شباب
office
صغار
in an
بالثلاثينيات.
incomplete list, and because
كل حدا
they were
منهم
young
رسم
and in their
حدة
20s, each
وكتب
one of them were
تصوروا
specialized in one
للبرنامج
field, and they
الانتخابي
wrote down and
البرنامج الجمهوري
prepared their
للضياع. كل
platform
واحد له عمل. هاي
based
بمعنى
on
لازم ننتبه وطبعا
each
لدى الثقافي
background area,
حتى
because
الأجانب
she works in
الثقافي ضمن
artistic
البرنامج الانتخابي
nature
يعني
work. She did it
السياسي.
actually
وقالت
from a
إنه هي بدها
cultural
ترجع تسترد
and artistic
مساحات
background, and
الثقافة
she said that
اليونانية.
she's going to
وطبعا آية
revive
بتمثل أكثر
the
جماعة
festivals
إلى
and
حملة
the
تنمر
cultural
كتير
festivals.
كبيرة
سبق
That's why she
لحظة
was exposed
الانتخابات
to a large
شريف.
bullying
سبقت
campaign.
الانتخابات حملة التنمر
This
أم
was
وقتها؟
before
هن
the
يعني ترشحوا
electoral
قبل،
campaign
مش
or
بيكون
after.
عندهم
No,
أربع
they
خمس
actually
أيام.
ran for office before
بيوم
5 days.
الانتخابات الحملة إذا
And
بدك
at the elections day,
ضاعفت وتزايدت
the bullying
بهالاسم.
campaign was
كان في
doubled
يعني كمان
and
هو
was
عمل
worse.
ملاحظة
Um,
قالتها بادية امبارح إنه
a remark
الانتخابات كان
given
في
by
مشكلة
Badia yesterday
بالنسب
that
بتحكي
there
عن
was
الحقيقة
female
بالانتخابات
participation, and you are talking
إن
about your
إنه
niece,
في
and
نسبة
she's an
أعلى
artist,
للنساء
and there is a
مارست
higher percentage
الانتخابات مما
to
كانت عليه بالسنين
participate in the
السابقة.
elections compared to the elections of
اللي بدي أقوله أنا
2016.
على هامش
What I want to
القراءة
say by
الانتخابية
reading the
إنه
electoral
رغم
scene,
كل هذه السطوة
that in spite
الذين
of
أمامنا،
all
رغم كل
the
هذا
dominance and the power
النظام
and
الثنائي المتجذر الممسوح
the
طوال
Saudi
55 يوم
actually system that
ومسيطر
was
فيه على
entrenched by
كل شيء
Hezbollah
حيث
for more than
الواقع
35 years in the south, that is
على
dominating
الحزب وصهيون
all the
الصهيوني
different
المسيطر عليه.
spaces, be it
كان
visual
لافت
or
جدا
audio
بهذا
space
المشهد
or everything.
انه عدد
The
كبير جدا من
remarkable thing that there
النساء
was a large
ترشحوا
number of female candidates
في مواجهة
ran to office
طبعا من خلفيات
against
الأولى دايما بتكون
the Shiites
بس هذه
duetto,
ظاهرة
and
تستحق
this was
التوقف
a
عندها.
phenomena that should
أنا
be
بقول
well
رغم
considered.
كل هذه القبضة
And
الحديدية
in spite of all
والمشهد
the
الانتخابي اللي كان
iron fists,
فرجانا
and the
انه
electoral
هذه
scene
القبضة رفعت القياس بالمرة.
showed that
لم تعد
this
كما
fist
كانت
is
تنصاب
not
بنفس
like
القوة
before.
والحدة
Doesn't have the same
البطش
grip
تمام.
or the
انطرح هذا
same
الخيار بعد
hegemony.
فترة
You can
انتخابية، بس
mention other
هل
ideas,
عندك
but
ليال
we need
وبرجع
to move
بحكي
on
لك
to
وسؤال
Layal in
بسألك
order to
على
expand
ذلك
the
بالضرورة،
discussion. We
ولكن
focused on
السؤال
the South
الأساسي هل
phenomena, but the
الانتخابات
main
الرئاسية
question
بالمرحلة
is the
بما يمكن أن
municipal
تكون عليه
elections
بالنسب
a reflection
التمويلية
of what
بعد
the parliamentary elections could be
المعايدين في
in
الأسماء
less than a
التمويلية؟
year at the same month
أول شيء
next
مساء
year.
الخير أنا كثير سعيدة
Hello,
بوجودي
welcome and good evening, and I'm pleased to join you and
بالنسبة
join all
لموضوع
the good
الانتخابات
faces. As for the parliamentary elections, we know that the municipal system is a majority electoral system and proportional, and should not reflect 100% the reality, but can give us the trend that these parties are still exist and intensively, and they can create blocks. They have the flexibility in order to align with each other, and they establish alliances. And in Beirut, they made alliance in order to make a change. So what we want to establish. Actually, that the change situation could last the battle, but not the end. Maybe some people don't know what's happening because the Lebanese forces that calling of disarmament or of Hezbollah and other the Ahbash association that is affiliated with the Syrian regime in addition to Hezbollah. The alliance of the different parties. There are two different poles that are different in their political ideology and religious ideology. So they brought themselves together against the change candidates or candidates calling for the change. So what is the reason? So the problem in the change situation that all these blocs are meeting in order to maintain their seats, and we as individuals, they have the religious and sectarian and family or tribal zealism, and we as individuals we need to ask what we are going to do in the next phase. Are we going to keep ourselves as individuals facing all these blogs? But the problem that the change actually يعني moved steps back actually, but was not defeated, maybe decreased, maybe relocating. There are the performance of some of the change individuals actually was affected. I was in the polling stations. I also attended the telling process and counting a pro vote count. So you need to get organized. You need to provide them with a very solid alternative, which is clear in the sovereignty trend and the political reform platform. Mohammed mentioned one good idea that the parties do have or they have organization, funding, structure, and the blocks are going to run for office as they are. But we as individuals don't have this structure or organization. Layal, the idea, so what is going to change in the structure organization? The parties do have their own organization. They can secure transportation. The question is Lebanon governed by having unchanged environment, or could you get the same results because the sectarianism of all the national trends? I think this change situation should create a national phenomena with clear policies, clear objectives to bring the aspired changes and reforms and to go with the state. We should be relying on parties to get services and to rely on other things. We need to create a civic society that gives the equal space for each and every one of citizens. And with this, we can develop priorities, we can talk about civil status, and also to encourage women to have political participation because politics are not separate from the daily life. And so we needed to have a discourse tackling the civic state and what do people need. Are they are going to be just affiliated with their party or to be affiliated with the state?
مجموعات إنما أو مواطنين بدولة.
ما بعرف مهند أو
So
بديع
sometimes it's impossible to change because the parties they have organizations and the one they are seeking to change also they have their own ideas.
أوكي الأحزاب عندها تنظيمات
I don't
وكذا
know if I can talk about this because we don't have a campaign today when we are talking about a
نبدأ سريعا
change.
بملاحظة
It's not the change, it was there was like a strike against it, and also they change everything, and they attack the change process. In addition to that, there were a huge number of financing for this campaign. So we need to connect it together. And in addition to that, if we need to talk about the power of changing, we are not talking about organizing a process. We are talking about something that it come randomly. It was not organized. So the recent time there was a conflict between them, and there were different ideas and different blocks. There were some representatives. Sometimes they say that we are connected with some supporters and also with some other sects, and there were some representatives they were away from this subject, and they were not organized in a good manner because they don't have financing support, and also there are representatives. Today we are talking about a small bloc. They are not more than 10% from the parliament. In the parliament, 3/4 of the time it's not working. In addition to that, we have a war. It's going for the last 1 year and more. If you add all together, these together after 3 years, what they can do. So today maybe we can see the number of the questions that it was given to the Lebanese government. We look to the leak agenda. They put the number of questions. So the changing representatives, they put questions more than the other representatives, more than the 90. So at the level, what their abilities. But they did good because they asked the government, for example, and they were asked about the corruptions, and also they present good reform laws. But the campaign, maybe it's similar to what happened to Samir Jaja in the 90s, since he took him to the prison. He was all the Lebanese now, if they remember that story. This is maybe the media game. Now it's like a serious sometimes after we're done. Some people they come and they are taking that we need to change, and they put the music and different things. Maybe we think that those representatives they are doing some things. We need to explain what you said, that they were champagne for the media, for the changing power, that they are accountable for the damage that it took place in the country. So the campaign, it was there and it was organized maybe to strike and to attack the changing power. But for you, Badia, you talk about the meaning of not sharing and participate, the high percentage. Maybe they said that there was a decline of 10% of the Lebanese, and they put a number that it's almost like 625,000 Lebanese. They went outside the country. Decline, it was because of that. But now you talk that there was oppositions, as you said, because you said my vote will not change. For Badia, we can expand the talk, not to talking about the municipality elections in Lebanon, in the south, not only in the south. Maybe the opposition or the people that didn't go to the vote, it's almost the same as the people they went to the vote. So it's higher, the percentage of people not participating in the vote increasing. There's a lot of people they're not sharing in the voting for many times. So 36 of percentage they vote only. So we had that elections, and we say that it is democratic elections. But when you say that 36 percentage they are not voting or more, from the people that they have the right to vote. So I find this is one of maybe the oppositions, that they are not talking, they are not belonging to any factions or parties, but they are what we call it silence oppositions, because I express my idea in this way by not going to vote. So those the people maybe they are going to make a change or the pace of the change later on, in case maybe the power of changing they can bring them, or they can organize themselves, or they can convince them to come and go for election. Because at the same time the election or the change, it's not an explosion, it is like accumulations of organizing, and also coordinations and humanitarian building. So, as Mr. Zoher said, maybe the young that they decide in 4 days maybe to make the list. So 4 days before, maybe you cannot have the let us say the election atmosphere. So now the changing process, it come in the political speech, or in the language that and the speech that they are speaking to the people. Where is the problem? So because there was a damage and a collapse for the economic in there, and we went to a battle. It was randomly battle, and it was by external decision to support Iran in their nuclear weapons and also nuclear negotiations. So there were many analyzing. They said that the one in charge, they will be punished because they are putting Lebanon in that war, because this increase the collapse of our economic. In my opinion, maybe the Lebanon citizens, they are not raised to be accountable. So the relation between the government it is the relation with the party, and the party will represent them in the government. We all know that this make like what we call it the customers and the belonging for that party. So if you don't have the loyalty for that party, you will be you will not be going to receive any kind of services for your life. You will be deprived of everything because you are not loyal to that party. So you are not alike, and the government they didn't also approve you. So we have this is the relation, maybe the mediation relation, as I said, because any party they are not the mediators. They are the controlling, they are the control authority, they are the government for the citizen. So finally, what the one is going to vote to do. So there is like what we call it a service cycle. So in your opinion, it's not possible to go through that cycle. In my opinion, it's too early to say that we can breach that cycle. We said before that even Muhammad said if we don't have an organized body and to start working on that, so we can later on harvest what we plant, we are not going to have any results if we are not organized. If I'm believe in that block, the coherence block, this is the one that is going to make the change. That's what will happen. There is a big block sometimes that it has all the type of the component people and all the levels that they are the one to make the change. But Badia, also you have also opinions that they have. There's a positive ideas from these elections. We are not talking about the positive things until now because we don't want to say like what Zuhair said before, or Aya. The draw of Aya. As I told you, maybe the positive things that we saw first to talk about Nabatia. the city, Nabatea city, it's for the first time. Now we have one woman. She was a candidate, Zena Shmesani, because normally they are not sometimes admitting that women should be a candidate for the election. And maybe this is one of the change that it took place there. What I saw that there is many women, they come to be a candidate or so that party, they find themselves, if they are not accept them, something will happen. So they nominate some women in their list. And this show that we don't want to have more hope, but at least maybe they are look for what we call it the street pulse. And so now any gap they find it, they try to fill it sometimes. And in the other list that they put it, and even the tribal leaders that they come to that elections, the women attack to that list. It means that there were no control by Hezbollah. In Lebanon in general, I don't know if we have statistical numbers. It seems that there is a lot of women, they come to participate in the elections in the municipalities as candidates. In my opinions, the women always they try to put them away from the opinions power, let us say. So the municipality, maybe it is the less place that it has a political effort or alliance for. So it doesn't need that decision because we are working with the citizen. That's the reason maybe there were a lot of women, they tried to come to be as a candidates for the elections. In seats, you are paying interest to the women issues. You have the same questions. Yes, I have the same questions, and the numbers, it will show that the percentage of the participation for women in Lebanon, it's not only in Beirut and other areas. So this is a positive thing. And it's not a mistake that maybe the changing process that it make an effect in all the parties, for example, to improve the situations of the women regarding, for example, the initiatives or the other things, even so to be like a first stage to have a civilian government, and then the citizen, they can see that he's equal with others despite his sex or his religion. But this, it will push all the facts and the political parties maybe to change the situations of the human in Lebanon, even if the sex, for example, and the factions, they try to for example, to change the age of marriage, for example, or what. So we will not, for example, be angry if they, for example, if they improve the situations of the people. And this is, as Badia said before, they were changing because of because they are looking to the pulse of the street, and they find the people and some of the groups or some individuals, they work and they push, for example, for some rights that they can adopt it. So to try not to lose any people from their party, and to try to do much better things for the sects and also for the factions. But what we are looking, and we are hope to have a civilian laws, and so the people, they have, for example, the option to go for that civilian laws, because this will be, if I cannot, for example, say that I can make an election campaign as a lady or a woman, and in the list, I'm not there as an entity. Always I'm under my parent or under my husband. If I divorce, they bring me from my husband, and they put me under my father. So I don't have like a national number that I can put my records, like if I divorced, or for example, if I married. Even in my personal list, we are following others. So we need to start to watch the women participation, to start thinking in that, to change the current speech, and also to try to change the approach, and also to have the rights. If the political parties they adopt that, it will be good. If we can have the rights and also some gains and reform process, this all together, the most important things that we need to improve the human situations in Lebanon. Layal, first you said that maybe you were in the counting vote there, the percentage of the participation there, this it will increase the percentage of the voting. In Beirut, it was very low. It was 20% for the women. Only 156 candidates there, but in Beirut we have only 13 ladies. Beirut, it should be the list of the changing. So 45% at least there should be there. In the other list, there were presents for the women, but not like this. The women, they vote there because always we hear that the women, they need to be supported from the same women. So the women, they should also vote for women before they also go to be a candidates in the so I don't have some numbers, but we need to work in these numbers to know exactly what are the numbers that they are voted. But even in the previous parliament voting, there was some voting for some of the women, because in yes, there were women, they are supporting other women in the parliament election. Zuhair, your theory that we cannot measure the municipality elections like the parliament elections after 1 year. I need to talk about that, but if you need to, we need to talk about acclamation, because 40% of the municipality, they win by acclamation in some of the governorate. For sure, always the municipality elections, it's like a rehearsal sometimes, and for as an example also for the parliament elections. But it's not necessary, in my opinion, that these elections, it will be reflect what it will going to happen in the coming parliament elections in the coming year. First, I need to point out that we are talking about the defeat of the oppositions, or the one that they need to change, because they cannot do anything in that matter. But the big change that it took place in Lebanon today, Lebanon, it's not in the same standing position as before 6 months. Lebanon now, it's in a different place. We have a lot of things that it took place. And now, while we have the president, and he's a reformer, and he need to change. Within this, maybe now we have a good platform for changing by activations, maybe the role of the entities, that it will change the atmosphere in the country for the blocks, for example, and for some approaches so to work before any changing process that it may be happen. maybe it will be suppressed or stopped by different ways, maybe directly by suppressed or by sometimes go around it, or by having like false entities, for example. And we notice that a lot. I need to remind you of something on the 17th of October, maybe the most area that it was raised. It is the south area, and until now, the routes of there, you find a lot of wheels that it was burned and vehicles it was burned in that area. 17th of October 2019, when they asked to change the regime, political regime. That time, all the people from the southern area, they went out and they were asking for a change in all Lebanon, and that was not strange. But now this authority and now this system that it can create or delete or defeat any change, it is something that it's put a lot of fears. Now things change. First, from now until 1 year, when we have the parliament elections, we need to, for example, to change the entities' role to provide the atmosphere and to let the people to express their ideas and also to come as candidates. And we find that in the municipality elections. Even it was limited and it was small elections, but I think it will be developed and it will be expand until we come to our parliament elections. Until now, we are prepared. We have now the law that we are working on it regarding that for the parliament, and it will take time. Mohammed, what your comment about what has been said from there? Now, talking about the changing process in the coming period, I bet that it depends of what they are going to be encountered. If, for example, this campaign encountered to something like the campaign that we saw in the TV and also in some magazines, and we have some journalists and activists in the social media, and they are working in court in good manner. This campaign, it's going to continue until the next elections. In my opinion, yes. I think we need to clarify that we are seeing now two kind of policies that are meeting together, like, for example, Hezbollah and in their command. And what's left from, for example, left from there, and they were going with Sunnah. And we find some representatives now, they are going to the other demands after the defeat, military defeat. But now we are seeing, for example, the right or the lobby for these banks, for example, that they are changing their political power to avoid any lose because of the previous practices. So the banks lobby, it is the same authority because those people, they were like partners in these banks, or sometimes they are head of these banks. So if we need to make any complaints, it will not work. There was some complaints and it went to the electronic cyber problems. There was some complaints and this was used to stop people talking. Those people, they are not working together, and maybe they are will be more powerful in the coming elections. But today, within the defeat that we are encounter and also the decline in the number of the voters, we are looking now to the votes that so they are going to come with a result because they are going to achieve the percentage. If we work from now until the coming period and the representatives, maybe they can explain what they can do. So maybe you can look to the other period and to see what they are doing as their representatives. They cannot come out of anything. We have a question that I need to ask it to you or to anyone who would like to answer from Maya Yahi.
راح أوجه لك إياه ولكن
She said
حاول
first
يا ريت
hello, and later on she
نقول
asked questions related to the democracy as a theory, that it is depend on the number of the majority without this is it's maybe it's make a questions for Platon that maybe opinion it will come by this will happen also to help Netanyahu to come to be as like a governor. We cannot blame ourselves for that. This theory, it happened, Maya, what she's trying to refer, that maybe Betty also she referred to something that the people they don't want to vote for the changing. But there is some opinion, they say, don't blame people for that. You need to blame the situation, to blame some things not related to the people. Even maybe the percentage of the vote, it's not that much, maybe because they are went to other parties. Maybe you can answer fast, Badia, on there, in my opinion, there is a problem for this democratic to as a number because the influence or the interest or the lobbies or the power that they need to change on the result of the elections. They expend money and also they have their relation to try to breach the authority. This is a problem, but this it has a solution. Maybe we can have independent controlling and monitoring entities like in the southern area. It's not a normal election. It's not allowed for any party, for example, to receive for billion, for example, and to pay for salaries and for other things because 10,000s of the people they get benefit. How you can compete these until the situation is finished and we have a good monitoring that it will be organized the elections in a good manner and also to have good competitions and also to have the right to have an access for the media and to be equal for all the representatives. Now that we can talk to about elections, but now we don't have real elections. This is like a farm and they are named as elections and they come with carrying arms and they have religious persons with them. So this is not elections. I would like to say.
I was going to say that if we are to compare the numerical democracy that made the right wing in Europe to win the elections, this is one of the reflections of democracy. It is not wrong. Ultimately, the community thinks about expressing a goal for the community because they have a certain policy or ideology. They chose this, and in some communities, and during the next elections, we may have a counter wave or a counterparty. The essence of democracy that in each and every phase, the democracy should express the community and represent the community and the ideas of the community. It is not wrong to be ideological if it is under the ceiling of the state and not supported by other states, and they don't have their own militias. They are not threatening by using weapons, and considering that the state is controlling the party that is acting within the space of good the government. It is not wrong. It is an expression of the opinion of the community or the society. While talking about elections and expected and unexpected results, each has its own opinion. But some are blaming the people all because the voters could make a change. Maya mentioned that in Europe they have the extremist right actually, and we don't have this in any Arab community. We have dominant and ruling parties, and when electing or voting for the party, it is they are electing their sect or their not electing politics. And Maya could, this is not an opinion. I'm from the South, and many people don't have enough knowledge about how to choose and vote. If there is no awareness about how to build a political opinion and stance, they can easily be influenced by other stakeholders. I do agree with her, but usually who spreads the awareness about this? Isn't it the political parties? The political parties are raising awareness about their own interests in order to stay in power and to dominate the market. And but in the pro-change parties are practicing politics away from the sectarian quotas, but unfortunately they are still teenagers. I'm sorry to say that, and or they are still in the adolescence phase to win and some battles, and they need to lose battles as well in order to reach the maturity phase until we reach the level that people are voting based on ideology, based on awareness, but the people now are raised by the sectarianism and not by the awareness. My internet connection is not that good. Yes, I face some frozen pictures. So I want you to comment on what Maya and Badia mentioned. I would like to salute Maya and raise a hat because she's sharing with us from a different area, and the democracy is a value, and it will be very loose if it is not associated with laws and legislations, because laws are are governing the elections that are the essence of authority in the state, and without any laws, it became loose. Each may interpret the law as he or she reckons, and then we can reach something, the consensus democracy that has not anything to do with democracy, because reaching an agreement has nothing to do with the democracy game. And in Lebanon, this process is not a religion. It is an open process, meaning that it could be proportional. The democracy game could be proportional, and the law could be proportional or a percentage as well. Those who were not, who didn't win, there's nothing to prevent to be presented in a certain percentage, and this is democracy. And according to a legal framework, framework whereby we can improve the democracy and enhance democracy with laws. But we are in the South, and the uncontested win is disagrees or differs than democracy or contradicts democracy, and the Ansar. Youth, they were the youth that I told you about. They ran to office 5 days before the elections day, and they didn't have any platform, but they wanted to document a stance against uncontested elections and to emphasize opposition and to emphasize that they are against monopolizing the democracy and the ideas and marketing such ideas. We are still in Plan A. We didn't move on to Plan B, as in other words. Zuhair, yes, I need to tell you that the video that you showed, they told them that there is uncontested win, but after registering their list and actually they said now there is no uncontested election. And what happened is away from the crux of the democracy process and to renew the political life. We are projecting tribal and family values or concepts on a value-based process, which is the best thing invented by humans, which may lead to the birth of distorted and disformed frameworks before being born. And this is what I wanted to say in response to Maya. I would like to move on to Layal. After Layal, we can have a round where you can say anything. But Layal, what has been mentioned by Muhammad Badia and Zuhair, whom talked about the legal framework of the democracy. Muhammad talked about the funding from Iran and the dirty dollar and how much it is affecting the voters in such circumstances. Can you tell us about the electoral money, the electoral dollar, and because we have ceilings for amounts that should be received by the parties? Say yes, 100%. But to comment on Maya, the democracy with all its flaws is the best system, but we need to check the monitoring systems. Can you imagine that the municipal elections are without any monitoring? The monitoring committee is the committee that could say that we have ceilings for spending, and if we see a bribe, we need to report this to the committee that should be monitoring and to say that if there are certain irregularities or not. Imagine we have conducted the municipal elections without any electoral committee to oversee the elections, and we delayed 4 to 5 years, of course, but it was worthwhile to have a committee to oversee the process, and also the media where people were exposed to attack, and some people wanted to respond to these attacks. The fabricated attacks and bullying, as Muhammad said, we need to have the same space in order to defend ourselves and to have the same space to express my opinion, to elaborate on my view, and to respond to all these fabricated attacks, the spending, electoral spending, and these things should be overseen by a committee that could identify the the irregularities. We went into elections without any committee or so. How can you control? They left the prosecutor generals, but what can they do? We need something central to be referred to the judge, and we don't want to talk about the logistics and also the tabulation. The tabulation method, we are still using a paper and a pencil. This indicates that we are a country that needs a lot of automation. And imagine a judge could stay 24/7 in order to calculate on a calculator all the votes in order to avoid making any errors or mistakes. We are trying to practice democracy without an oversight committee, without automation, or without any mechanism that are used in all the democracies in the world. So, in appearance, we are a democracy, but we lack all the controls and the safeguards in order to ensure an equal photo for all the candidates, be it in the electoral spending or the electoral process, and also the ceilings that should not be bypassed by spending money or paying money. And all of these practices were out of the sight of the oversight committee. We need to respect all the legislation, and the committee, oversight committee, or monitoring committee, should be monitoring what the media is doing and the spending, and we need to have equal opportunities. Otherwise, those who have the money can get all the electoral space and the media electoral space as well. So, in order to have a real democracy, we need to have equal opportunities for all the candidates. Mohanna, the last words. Based on the question, are we
مهند كلمة أخيرة
still marked by democracy? Are they cheating us with this democratic system? Of course, there is cheating as well.
يغشونا بهالنظام الديمقراطي
Started with the distribution of services. So, who is going to be the head of the Matan Federation, or when of the Matan Municipality Federation? Let us explain that certain municipalities can form a federation for municipalities, and one with a traditional family that is known to its allegiance to Syria, and also they give nationalities to non-nationals in order to enhance their position.
يعززوا موقعهم الانتخابي بهيدي المناطق
Also, services, for example, the extra floor that was used practically to gain or garner constituencies, and these are the services provided to the people. This is all could be categorized as cheating, and also tens and scores of people that were employed in the state or the public service and in positions that don't need this large number of people, but all these job opportunities were distributed as electoral or voting rewards. But what are our options? We are competing in an unfair process, but this is the only option that is in front of us. We are still committed and hoping to improve its conditions and terms. Zohair, it is your opportunity to communicate an idea that didn't communicate before. Yes.
هيدي فرصتك
I am optimistic, and we cannot limit the change process with the pro-change people that we are overburdening them. I think our country is moving on, not only our country, but the whole region is witnessing major changes, and the reform is to be imposed by force. Because
بالقوة مع إنه هذا
because
البلد اللي
corruption has been
ترسخ فيه
infesting our
نظام
community for more
الفساد
than 30 years,
نظام الفساد
and
حوالي 100 سنة
we should
مش
have a
يمشي بدهم
reform, and we
إصلاح
may wonder where to
الإصلاح بده
start,
يمشي
but
يعني
they all
بعد
agree
نبني
that they need a
ما
reform.
بدهم يبلشوا ما بيشتغلوا
So,
إلا
Badia,
بالإصلاح إصلاح مو
optimist,
نتائج
pessimist, or
تفضلي
both. I'm usually not
بادية تفاؤل
optimistic,
تشاؤم تفاؤل
so how come I will be
أنا عارف
optimistic
إنك
when it comes to elections? You left us and escaped. So,
خلص اختفوا
so I need to be a little bit optimistic in order to change my view towards life. I think that the political parties in the municipal elections, this was a rehearsal for them in order to know how to handle us in the parliamentarian elections, and in order to know how to form alliances, because if they feel that there is a danger that people are not satisfied, they are going to form alliances. So during the parliamentary elections, there we were surprised with more alliances and coalitions than we have seen today.
شهر تاني
And
أنا بكون مع
of
الإخوة
course,
التغييريين
we
اللي
have
أنت
approaching
حملت عنهم الفكرة
politicians,
الموجودة
not only in the municipal elections, but also in the
بالتغييريين
parliamentary elections.
والأفكار
But I would not
كثيرة
be exaggerating to
برأيي
say that
إنه
they need
بما
to
إنه
look at
إنه تطلعوا
the
على
female
المناصب
or the
اللي
women
صار لها
model.
مسار
They
ببلدهم
seize the
إن
opportunity
بهذه
in order to
الفرص
make this attack.
النسوان
It is
انتهزوا
not
فرص
based that we
معينة
were
لعدم
encouraged.
ظهور هذه
No, no,
المرأة
there was
ونحن
something
جزء
that
هيك
took
من
place and
من
happened
قصة انه
that
نحن
led the women
شجعنا
to
لا
make
في
such
شيء
attack
صار
and
بعد دفع
stand
النسوان فينا
together in the
يهدوا
elections, and
هالحملة
this should be
بالانتخابات
a model for
البلدية
any bloc that
وهيدا
wants
لازم
to win
يكون
the
نموذج
elections. What are
بالتاريخ
the mechanisms
لأي
followed in the
كتلة
municipal
حابة إنه
elections? I don't know,
تفوز.
but they
هلا
need
كيف
to check the
الآليات شو
gaps.
اللي
Where can
صار
they
ما بعرف
infiltrate? Because change cannot
المهم لازم
happen
يشوفوا الثغرات اللي
overnight.
بدهم
But
يشتغلوا عليها
the most important thing in elections is
العناصر أو
to
القطاع.
separate ideology
هذا
from
هو كيف
elections.
بيوجهوا
And this is the most
بالانتخابات
important
وخاصة
thing. And we need to
الأيديولوجيا
raise awareness
بالانتخابات
accordingly,
وهيدي أهم شغلة على عاتق
be it for
التغييريين
municipal
يتوقوا
elections
هذا
or
الشيء
parliamentary
إنه
elections.
البلديات
And I
أو
don't know if
حسب
they can communicate
الانتخابات
this idea to the
تصير
people in
يخلوا
order to
عليها
be
توجيهات
able to
واضحة
imbue a certain level
وهيدا
of
بيوصل على
awareness.
الناس لحتى يقدروا
You
يرجعوا
mentioned three
أولا
things and now the fourth thing. So, what about
شغلتين
Layal? Layal, can you mention the fourth point, please?
رابعة
عيلتي 1 2 3
أربعة
4 شو رأيك تقولها
The
ليال
fourth point, and as to add up to what Badia has mentioned, it is true that we need to work on raising awareness because it is important for the people to vote. This is their right, and this is a democracy right. And what happened with Ansar actually is very good. Ansar Shabab was very good, and it was very good actually move. And even if it is formative, this is very important step that gives us hope. We will stay here. We will keep trying. And even if, as Badia mentioned, sometimes there are many change waves. Some of them are successful, some are not. But we need to keep trying and to tremble and stand up and keep trying because this is our hope with the new generation. We work a lot with the university students, and they are willing to get rid of all these outdated ideas, and they have the hope to have a modern state, modern laws to fulfill their aspirations. So we need to keep trying as much as we can. So this is a related talk because things are going to develop until we reach the parliamentary elections. But thank you, Layal, Mohanna, Zuhair, and Badia, and hoping to meet you in other discussions. So, Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
بنقاشات لاحقة.